So, you clicked on this video, but who do I think is the most underrated? The Tomb Raiser? No. The Fae? No. Maybe even the Knight? Still no. So who do I think is the most underrated? The Bard.
You need to leave!
Okay, let me explain. I'm playing the Bard class in Trove all the way back since the tune-up update, which was back in 2021. And at the time, I'd gotten the class and instantly fell in love with the character. And I was also maining Ice Age at the time, and considering that both those classes were magic-based, I just swapped the gems over. But considering that the fact this is an MMORPG game, the stereotype still persists that bards are disliked. So I say screw the stereotype right now, and let me talk. The Bard is a class that falls under the speed farming category, and uses Scythe's cheat sheet from this video. We can see that the Bard is decent at everything else except boss killing, which the Bard isn't that good at. But that's the exact reason why I chose to use Berserk Battler and Bard and not Vampirian Vanquisher, but those two are purely preference. But after giving both Vampirian Vanquisher and Berserk Battler a whirl, if you would, I would say both are great. They both have their own aspects, but in the long run you want to use Berserk Battler, just because of the extra light that it will give you. And I've built both the Bard with the Vampirian and Berserk, and I can confidently say that Berserk is 10 times better than Vampirian. And don't repeat my mistake of 2-star Empower gems, please. Weren't you gonna explain how you think the Bard is an underrated class? Are the cameras still on? Anyway, back to what I was saying. In my personal opinion, classes like the Bard don't receive the spotlight like other classes like Shadowhunter and Boomeranger do, just because those classes simply have feats that other classes don't. Like Shadowhunter, for example, the reason why he's considered one of the best speed farmers in the game is because he can shoot through walls. That alone makes him better than half the speed farmers in the game. And Boomer is up there because of his high damage. Speaking of damage, let's divert our attention to this bar. But you may be asking yourself when you're looking at this bar, what am I even looking at? If you don't play Bard like I do, then you may not even understand what this bar is. This is Bard's melody, and the reason why I tie this into damage is because of that sword box you see. But I'll explain that in just a second. Each one of these boxes on the bar is +1 melody, and each box represents their respected song. To make this easier, I'm going to use the term for what they do. For example, this one's the speed song, this one's the healing song, this one's the damage song, and in a 7+ melody, with 2 of those sword boxes, our magic damage is boosted up to 700%, whereas Boomeranger's base damage is at a 200% multiplier, which is already really good on its own. And I should quickly note that I'm not going to be biased, and I don't want to come off that way. You should play what you enjoy. All I'm trying to get by making this video for you guys is I would love to see the Bard used more often, and I want to give people an insight onto how this class isn't as bad as people might have thought. Alright, back onto how the melody bar works. Well, you may be asking yourself, how do you get the melody bar up to 7%? Well, you see in the middle how it shows an icon for an ability it looks like. Well, that's how you increase it. You do the actions from the bar to increase your melody. Things include stuff like rolling, attacking, using your crystal, using your parry. The parry takes away -1 melody when used, meaning you could use it to retract a song to gain more energy, using the peaceful song, or to avoid damage for a short duration. Okay, so at the time of recording this video, aka March 17th, I was gonna show you guys how useful Bard could be in the depths, but for whatever given reason, they released a maintenance today to fix server stability, and in the midst of that maintenance, it just broke characters' abilities, and I thought I was genuinely on something, but I wasn't. Abilities just weren't working. So, this next segment will be footage from my console. Okay, so the reason why having abilities mattered for the Delves footage is because something I do to make the Bard way more efficient is using the crystal to toss them at enemies to maintain my speed instead of walking up to them to hit them. Because as a melee character, I can't just snipe them. And something else I do is I also throw bombs at the dark hearts and 5 stars. But this will be a good demonstration of how good the Bard's kit actually can be in the delves, and this is a fair representation because we're on my console account, meaning we have my actual build, which is 46k PR. And this also supports the evidence that I used Vampirian Vanquisher, because on console I used Vampirian, not Berserk Battler. As you can see, I'm maintaining my speed quite well and actually using the crystals, but like I said, sometimes the crystal pops don't work, and this is an issue that still needs to be fixed. When you go too far away, or walk away, sometimes when you press the bind to detonate it, it just doesn't want to work. But I'm doing a good job of maintaining my speed here. Sorry if the footage is a little bit like clunky and almost. It's because I haven't played on console in a really long time, so it took a second for me to actually get used to the muscle memory again. I will also be showing the build I was using on console alongside the build I was using on my computer. Alright, so here's my console build. Alright, Melody Master. This is Bard's class gem. This is essential for his build. This increases, not only does it increase the attack range of his primary fire, which before not using it, it's like a shotgun type of spread. It boosts the effectiveness by your songs up to 40% instead of the usual 25% that you already have. Meaning you can get a lot more effectiveness out of using the Bard's songs with his class gem. Okay, so I should note, you could kind of have anything here, but in my personal opinion, I like to use Explosive Epilogue on Bard. And I should also note, I am using the 90315 strat, meaning I get the most damage out of my gems. So, back to what I was saying. I use Explosive Epilogue to get bursts of damage that Bard typically cannot get. Okay, the Cosmic Empower gem is kind of preference, in my opinion. If you want to just use the Bard for farming, then Vampirian Vanquisher is fine. However, I like using Berserk Battler now, because in the long run, just because of the extra light that it gives me, it's a must in the end game to have that extra light stat. Pyrodisc is also a must on the Bard, just because speed farming is honestly Bard's best feat. Speed farming is one of the best things that this character is good at. So using Pyrodisc is a must. Okay, so my build on PC isn't that much different. See, Pyrodisc, Explosive Epilogue, as well as I even still have the class gem, obviously. The only thing that's different is the Berserk Battler. However, don't mind that these are 2-star gems. But my luck is actually so horrible to the point that I actually got a Diamond Dragon Egg before I got a 3-star Empower gem. So moving on with my build, I'd recommend using Conjurer's Crucible because you get the Flask back after Magic Find triggers. Now, you may be wondering, why am I not using Trailblazing Emblem on a speed farming character? Well, the reason why I'm using Zelius Emblem is because you can't regenerate energy when airborne. Another reason why I like to use Zelius is because I can swap my songs mid-air, because the songs take a lot of energy to cast, and being able to use his songs mid-air whilst, let's say, Pyrodisc's active or maybe Lunar Lancer passive, it allows me to keep staying airborne without having to lose my speed whatsoever, and I can keep my melody bar going. And that is why I prefer to use Zelius on the Bard. Now, this one's obvious, but you would want to use Arcane Emblem on the Bard alongside any other magic class, and with physical classes you want to use the Martial Emblem on them, just because the stat that it gives is actually crazy, especially in endgame. Okay, now where the gear is concerned, you're going to want to run movement speed and attack speed on the Bard. And for the third stat, I would honestly prefer Magic Find, but the third stat can honestly be anything that you want. But you really want movement speed and attack speed on the bard. Having attack speed allows you to output more damage, and the movement speed is obvious because the bard is a speed farmer class.